Hi, my name's Jack Kennedy, and it might surprise you to know that this brand new Tommy Hilfiger short sleeve shirt was obtained on a dumpster diving mission. Come with me and I'll show you the 4 C's of successful dumpster diving. The first C is that you have to be careful. That involves, at the very least, having a good pair of sturdy work gloves, preferably something that comes well up to the arm. It's very common that you run into things like cat litter, broken glass, or other forms of refuge which could ruin a shirt or perhaps injure you. And so you have to be careful when you engage in dumpster diving. The second C to dumpster diving is that you have to be curious. Very often, you'll be driving along and you'll see a dumpster, and perhaps you won't see promising items coming off the top. Perhaps you'll see the top closed. Perhaps you'll see no evidence that there's anything inside. But you have to stop and you have to say to yourself, I wonder what's in that dumpster. And my opinion is, as long as there is not obvious evidence that there's a lot of food matter inside of the dumpster, it's always worth a look to come up, sometimes on a large dumpster, to climb up with your work gloves on and perhaps a sweatshirt or what have you, and begin to root around carefully but curiously to see what's inside. You'd be surprised what you would come up with. Now here we see that the dumpster is really largely empty. And I'm not surprised with that because I happen to know the schedule of when the sanitation department comes and empties out these dumpsters. And I happen to know that these dumpsters were emptied out earlier this morning. Now this, I'm afraid, is not very promising. If I was on a roll or just on a basis of a flash of intuition, I could reach in here, especially if I had a sweatshirt on, because you always have to worry about the edges having debris, cat litter, spaghetti sauce, things like that. I would probably reach in and grab this trash bag right in here and maybe just give it a single rip to see what's inside the trash bag. Sometimes you'll be moving things around and you'll feel a bag or you'll feel a box that's very heavy, or you'll hear something shift in it, and from the sound of the shift, it sounds like it might contain something that you might be interested in. For example, I'm not above taking older issues of magazines or perhaps the prior week's Wall Street journals in order to get the opinion or other articles in, as long as they're not covered with coffee grounds or Chinese mustard or anything like that. Sometimes you'll have plastic bags full of clothing, and I've gotten some very top-flight clothing from trash bags just from rooting around and feeling what's in there. It's part of being curious, and it's also part of being careful. But if this dumpster were full, I would simply move things around. And if necessary, I would actually open up another dumpster, particularly if it was empty, and I could begin to take things from one dumpster into the other. And the reason why I do that is because I'm very concerned with the 4th C of dumpster diving, and that is to be clean or courteous. If you are polite to superintendents, janitors, neighbors, or others who see you coming along rooting through their trash, and if they see that perhaps you have extra trash can liners to pick in stray debris, that you have gloves on, and that you're being very careful to not litter up the neighborhood, they're going to find that you are clean or courteous, and they're going to be prone to let you go on your merry adventure. That concludes our dumpster diving lesson for today. Next week, we'll talk about trash picking along the highway, where the 4 C's come even more importantly into play, since you are in a more public space and since you are actually rooting through people's trash very often on their lawn.